So this is how gyms grow, part three. We talked about right fit versus just a lead, how to measure the right fit. And we talked a little bit about reach, making sure that we're reaching enough of the market for what we define as market penetration to capture as many leads as possible. So what we want to really focus in on is the science of how people behave in order to find what it is that we do so we can capture them and make them a client. So let's just talk a little bit about this. We just went through this. I'm going to skip this slide. It's what we went over in the past two workshops. So again, this is all recorded. If you guys want to go back and look at some slides, we're going to fly through. The things that we've been discussing over the past 2 weeks, including what we're talking about today, is not bro science. It's not YouTube guru stuff. The information that I'm giving you, you can fact check without me. I can send you resources. This is not an opinion. This is over 50 years of actual buying data, the things that we're talking about. And most gym owners haven't been taught real marketing principles, which is why we typically get a roller coaster of what we're experiencing when we try to do something. We execute a task, it works a little bit, falls off, but there's no consistent lead generation. There's no predictable way to drive qualified leads. And the best companies in the world don't have this problem, right? I always use the examples everyone knows: Planet Fitness, Lifetime Athletic, right? 24-Hour Fitness, LA Fitness, Orange Theory, F45. They're actually struggling right now. That's besides the point, as a not individual franchises, but the company as a whole. And actually a part of it is because they're not following these principles, but there's over 50 years of buying data. Why are we not looking at it? Here's rule number one for today: penetration over loyalty. I want to be abundantly clear. Loyalty is important, but that 5 a.m. crew that is highly dedicated, that really builds the culture of your gym, that is just not going to fill your gym up every day for the rest of the existence of your business, which means market penetration and going into what we call light buyers, which we're going to talk about later today, is going to be how we build more of those people, because they don't become a dedicated loyalist to the brand until they have the opportunity to try it. There are a very small percentage of niche people that will immediately identify with the strength of what it is that you're doing, of your brand. Most people, they're not loyalists immediately. So it's penetration over loyalty. The second thing is something called double jeopardy. We're going to simplify these terms. All double jeopardy means is that you're getting penalized twice. I put a different definition here, but I'm going to explain it really simple. You're being penalized twice for being the little guy, for being the independent gym owner. Because when somebody franchises a big name, or when a big name comes in the area, they already have brand equity. But here's the thing: every single person started where you started and started where your gym started. Location number one. And they had to compete against somebody. What's even more interesting is that we're not just competing against other gyms. We're going to talk about that later in the presentation. Man, I'm not even past slide 3. I said we were going to fly through this. I like to talk, I think. We'll see. We're going to just be as informative as possible. The third thing is we talked about quickly light buyers. What a light buyer is really this: to drive growth, we need to capture casual buyers and not just people already dedicated to fitness. You could be a bodybuilding gym, which is like one of the most hardcore fitness obsessed. It doesn't matter. Those gyms need more people. Get them into bodybuilding. Show them that that type of gym could be for everyday people, that it doesn't have to be intimidating. Doesn't have to be the angle we take. I'm just giving you an example so it's easy to understand. The last thing is mental and physical availability. A few of you, I think at least one or two, were here last week when we talked about this. Mental availability is making your marketing memorable. Physical availability is reducing friction in your sales process, so it's easy for people to try what it is that you're trying to give them. If it's hard to get a hold of you, if it's hard to contact someone, if the process is long and tedious, if it's not exciting, if you don't have parking, this is all different physical availability categories. So mental availability is making yourself as memorable as possible, so you're the first brand that people think of when the time comes for them to take action. Physical availability is going to be making the process easy for them to enter the facility. That's all that this means. So we talked about something called the 95-5 rule. We're going to fly through this. It means 95% of your market is in future buying mode and 5% of your market's in market right now, competing, right? You're competing for that in market now versus your competition. And so what happens is everybody gets obsessed with just the now. And the now may truthfully be where you have to spend most of your time if you're trying to grow revenue immediately. Here's the issue. If you don't get started on the 95%, you're never going to catch up. If you don't start marketing for future buyers, you're going to be in this endless feedback loop of a jump of leads and a dip. And so what this means is we need to spend more time and energy or money, a combination of all three, making sure we do both. That's the key. I'm not saying one or the other. It's always both. Okay, we're going to talk more about that later. Right now, reach is one job, fit is another. And I'm going to redefine fit. The reason I use fit is because you can get a lead, could be totally unqualified. What we've been talking about is right fit leads. Now, we don't know if someone's a right fit lead until we talk to them, right? We can't make any assumptions. But there's a difference between someone that wants to participate in what we have and somebody that's just maybe a tire kicker. They haven't really decided that they want to take action on their fitness goals. We need to measure qualified leads, people that are actually ready to go. This is the most important thing. And so you have reach, which is demand, and then fit means we need to activate them. This is the 95-5. Reach means we're going after a larger part of the market share to let them know we exist all the time. This is the demand, is activating the 5% that's in market. We're going to segment what this looks like in a little bit. So what I have here is audience is broad. You're going after the whole category. This is brand initiative. This is awareness. And then we have converting the 5% of people raising their hand because they're now interested in what it is that you do. And we broke this down in the very first presentation. So how do we define this? How do we get these people that are in market? It's avatar, outcome, time frame, mechanism. This is how you craft different offers that attract particular people that you're going after. So this is already on YouTube. So if anyone's curious, you can go there and check it out. Actually, Leo, can you do me a favor? Can you drop the YouTube link into the chat for everyone before the end of the presentation? This way people have access to that. And if anyone wants it and you don't see it in the chat, I will get it to you. So, all right. We want to be visible to everyone, but we want to be for someone specific. We're going to talk about, some of this stuff sounds like a contradiction because it's a little bit more complicated than previously taught, especially to local business owners. I have some examples down here, but this is the core thing. We need to be visible to everyone in the local community, but we have to stand for someone. We have to be a little bit particular about who it is that we're trying to attract. What somebody thinks they want versus what they want is different, and people's taste and needs change. We cannot discount marketing to the entire local community. But again, we can't spend all our money there. We got to capture people that want to join now. So just hammering this home. We're going to sit on this for just a minute. This is where marketing fails. Either they over narrow the top of funnel or they under filter at the bottom. So here's an example. Only running ads to a tight 500 person lookalike audience. If you're not familiar with that is, it's just if you're running campaigns in Meta as an example, you can then figure out who are the people that we've typically signed up. Go after, and you put it basically into the system and say, go after people like this, right? Or maybe our offer is very niche and we're saying, we only want this type of person. I'm going to give you actual examples about this in a little bit. But how do we convince that avatar that they are the only person that matters? These sort of gyms, they get a few leads, but they don't reach enough of the market for enough people to know that they exist. Because if you've got 5% at any given time in market, you're not going to get all of them. You're losing people to competition, other training studios, other big box gyms, Peloton, people with Fitbits counting their steps. You're losing market share to everyone. This is all in that 5% that's being activated in live time. So if you just have this hyper niche messaging, you're eliminating a mass part of your market. This is not good. You can get temporary results from it. You can run specific campaigns like this from time to time, but you just can't do it forever. Now, here's mistake number 2, under filtering. This is actually doing the opposite, right? 7-day free pass, no context. There's gyms right now that are large gyms. They're running 2 months free. It doesn't say anything else. It just says 2 months free. Join now. Horrible, because there's no filtering mechanism at all. You're going to get tons of cheap leads. None of them are going to be the right fit, or most of them won't be the right fit. You're going to get people that are optimized for just clicking on things that are free. They're not serious about buying. They're just interested because it looked good and had a low barrier of entry. Anyone ever hear leads are weak or the leads are bad or leads suck or meta stinks and all the terms that we use when things don't work out from advertising? It's from doing stuff like this. 7-day pass can work. Free 6-week challenge can work. It's how we filter it. It's how we make it specific to certain avatars. We don't want to over filter. We don't want to under filter. So this is basically an example of the boutique that nobody ever knew existed. We have a tight avatar. We have very narrow ads. Here's the example. A woman only strength program that ran every ad, and let's say every ad sounded like this. Women between 40 and 55 within a 3 mile radius who are interested in strength training. Sounds like a good avatar. How many people in your local market are between 40 and 55 in a 3 mile radius interested in strength training? You're going to get a small burst, but you're not going to reach enough people for that to sustain or be predictable. Or your lead cost is going to go up, or you're going to lose some of these people to other parts of the market share. Now, if you're exclusively a women's only facility, not this is just a program I'm talking about, just a positioning. If you're a woman's only facility and all you do, it's your entire business model, this would make sense. That's just not the case for most people. And so if we only market to this one avatar, we're now eliminating all the other people that could possibly join our program or join our gym. So what happens is you get some leads, it works for a little bit, you got to keep trying to find new ways to make that same thing work, and growth flatlines. So the fix is to add reach, but keep the filter. We talked about category entry points mean what are the things that happen in someone's life that trigger them to finally take action. A doctor said someone had to lose weight. Someone is depressed and they just finally woke up one day and said, I need to change my life. They're stuck on the couch. They're feeling depressed about who they are. It could be they currently go to a gym and the gym that they go to is dirty, or maybe they have a group fitness class, but there's not enough workout diversity. It's the same thing over and over. Maybe they used to go somewhere and it got overcrowded. All of these things are category entry points. So if you've done the local demographic research that we talked about in presentation 1, if you've gone through how to make your marketing memorable, which we went through last week, and we talked about how to create different offers, we can pick the 5 top category entry points from doing the market research, from looking at who your competition's going after, and we can have broad reach to everybody in your local market and campaigns directly relevant to the 5 top category entry points. So we're hitting different avatars. You can run an ad for a woman that's between 40 and 55 in a 3 mile radius interested in strength training. It just can't be the only thing you do. Okay, so we got to do both. Different story in reverse. Big box gym that everyone did know. The reach was already there. Maybe it's a strong brand name. Let's say they've been there for about 12 years. Strong brand, recognized in town, decent Google reviews. Again, mental availability means they're top of mind. This is when your marketing is memorable. You're one of the first considerations. You're one of the first things, one of the first gyms people think of when they decide they're going to go to a different gym or start at a new one. And they ran a generic free pass. See this all the time. A lot of large privately owned gyms are starting to change their strategy because they realize that just reach alone isn't enough anymore. There's too much stuff that's specific. Too many niche gyms like Lewis's, right? Lewis has a group training studio and it's very cool. Not all these different places, they didn't always exist. There's more gyms than ever before that are popping up. Gym ownership is actually above pre-COVID. Not rehabilitated, it's past it again. So think about that. Broad reach alone, it just can't compete with everyone else popping up with these really great products. And neither can yours. So what happens is the pipes get clogged with bad fit leads. They're getting more reach, but they're just losing market share to people that are being a little bit more specific, that are finding people that resonate with the deep emotional reasons that we're targeting people for. And so we need to keep the reach. We can't decrease it. We need to sharpen the offer. It's just one example. Again, we need to find 3 to 5 category entry points that we can market this 7-day free pass to, right? One of them could be for young adults that are over 30 who want a strength-based gym without the intimidation. That's an example. So this is an example of the gym that did their job both in Right Stage. And by the way, let's get some engagement here. Drop a 1 in the chat if you're following along genuinely. Is this making sense to everyone? Oop, lost my screen here. Hang tight, guys. Not sure where the presentation went. We'll pop it back up in a second. Trying to get the chat up. Great. Is anyone completely lost on what we're talking about? If so, drop a 2. I'm going to come back to you later. Cool. So we're following along. Let me get my presentation back up. Who knows what happened there? Clicking too many things at once. All right. We're alive. So The gym that did both jobs at the right stage. This is now whether you're a big gym, a niche gym, it doesn't matter, right? We built the memory more broadly. We filtered tightly with multiple category entry points. And then now we can get the data and drive that back into our marketing to figure out the best people to go after. Sounds simple. Obviously, it's a formula. It's an iterative process. It changes with market trends. It's something we just have to learn how to do. It's not a one and done thing. That's what makes this so hard, right? So anyone telling you that it's not hard and that it's easy and you just have to do this one thing, it's just simply not true. This is very hard to do, but it can be very fun. And when it's done properly, it's highly effective, right? So that's why we're going to answer questions. These are definitions here that I don't think we need to get too deep into. We talked about them a little bit earlier today. I put some of this in here. A lot of the research on the things we're talking about are actually coming out of this institute, the Ehrenberg Bass Research. They're one of the only dedicated marketing research institutes in colleges on the planet. They do really good research. There's a lot of books that come out of there that you can just read and buy off of Amazon as well. So if you're wondering where some of this research, not all of it, is coming from, I did cite a couple things in here. They're really great. So we have to look at the light buyers that drive your growth. It's not just the die-hard 5 a.m.s. We talked about that. Your share, your real, we talked about this. You share buyers with everyone. I'm tripping over my words. You're sharing buyers with everyone. It's not just the competition down the street. Peloton's a great example, right? Fitbit is a great example. YouTube video is a great example. People that are getting older that think they don't need the gym and they just need to walk. Great example. You're fighting with people that are sitting on the couch. You're fighting with people that are addicted to fast food. You're fighting with McDonald's. You're fighting for the same eyeballs. I've got to mute someone here, guys. Please put yourselves on mute. Just a reminder. Thank you. So these are things that we've already talked about. This is what we need to do in order to figure out how to go through this process. And then I want to open it up for some Q&A on these concepts. Again, this is tying the first two lessons together. Some of it may feel a little bit ambiguous if you guys weren't here before. Please go back to our YouTube channel, watch the other sessions, but feel free to ask questions now. Number one is your reach. This is capturing demand. So ask yourself, what does my top of funnel look like? Is it broad enough to build memory in that 95%? This is one of the most important things. We can have a really good direct response strategy. We can go to stage 2. We can go right to activate. But if we get those people, what next? We always want to have more people trickling in. We want people to, I don't know the first time I seen you guys. I finally decided to take action. We got to hear that more often. That's what we got to start hearing, right? And that's all from step 1. Step 2, this is the part that's easy. Digital marketing doesn't exist. It's surveillance marketing. We're all being tracked. Our data's out there. It's that easy when it's done well. This 5% piece that we're talking about, we can, at least our clients, immediately drive positive results because everything is just tracked. It's so simple. And we can get fast wins, and that's good. We need to do that, but we have to make sure we're doing both. If not, it only gets harder, inconsistent, and expensive. This is why we need to marry both. Reach, then activate. And how much of your budget, how much of your time goes to expanding on reach versus that activate, that's different for every gym. If you're in a small town with one competitor, you probably don't need to spend a lot of money, time, and energy on reach. If you're in a highly competitive, dense city with a substantial radius, you're going to want to spend a lot of time on reach because there's a lot of new people coming into market constantly. It just depends. There's no finite way of doing this. It all depends on everything. Could a stranger in your town describe your gym in one sentence without seeing the logo? Ask yourself that. Audit your funnel. Ask yourself. Now, in the last session, I literally said words out loud and made everybody that was here respond, and everybody responded with the same answers. We're talking about memory recall triggers. You can go see that. That one will be posted later this week. It's an example of can people describe what you do with limited information, being top of mind. Out of the last 20 leads, how many right fit leads were there before the consult? If under half of them show up for an appointment or book an appointment, we're probably not attracting people that are the right fit. One of the things that we mentioned, especially if you're a small operator wearing multiple hats, what we can't afford to do is call leads 100 times a day. Now, if you're a big box gym, you got a front desk staff, you have a dedicated salesperson, absolutely. We need to do that. Your reach should be even larger. You need 2,000 members, not 200. We got to be calling people all day long. But if you're a solo operator, you're still the trainer, you're the marketer, you're the operation, you're doing everything. You need your marketing to operate as a filtration system. It's okay if your cost per lead is a little bit higher if everyone that comes through is qualified and actually wants to attend your sessions. Because if you get more people that require more sales, they're flaky, they're not sure, you're going to lose that money because you're not going to have the time to nurture them. And there's a lot of other reasons. But your marketing has to be a part of your filtration system. We gave those two examples in the beginning. Too much filtration, not enough reach, wrong. Right? Too much reach, no filtration, also wrong. We got to do both. Common themes here are continuous. And then where are you spending your money to try to fix those leaks? Are they upstream or downstream? We talked about this before. I don't know if anyone remembers. Downstream means that we're basically putting a band-aid on a bullet wound. We're not getting to the source of the problem. Upstream means we're looking at the root cause and we're fixing it at an earlier stage, so it's always eliminated. There's examples of this. All right, so we talked about the 95-5 rule. We talked about making sure that we're top of mind, but also going after in-market buyers. We've tied some of the gaps together from the last two presentations, which the last two were a lot more detailed. So if you were here, this all makes a lot of sense. If you weren't here, it might just sound like I'm saying a lot of the same things, right, on every slide, and you might grab some of the concepts, but not all of it. This is why I'm trying to push you guys to the YouTube channel. Watch those other videos. But hopefully it's digestible enough to understand the overarching concepts. But we had a lot of questions the last 2 weeks, and this is what I was trying to answer. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now. I'm going to share it again before everybody jumps off. Looks like a couple more people jumped in here, which is nice. I want someone here to drop a 2 in the chat if you have any questions on this. Let's jump into the Q&A.